It's 2 a.m. You're staring at the ceiling. Your phone is face down beside you because you promised yourself you wouldn't check it. Your mind is doing that thing again, replaying a conversation from 3 days ago, inventing arguments you'll never actually have. You feel broken. You feel like something is wrong with you. But the real answer is far stranger than a broken brain. It might be the opposite. It might be your brain working exactly the way it was built to work 40,000 years ago, in the dark, waiting for something to move at the edge of the firelight. You've been told sleep should be one long, unbroken block. 8 hours, lights out, lights on. Anything less feels like a failure, a disorder, a problem to fix with an app or a pill. But your ancestors never slept that way. Not once. Not for most of human history. And the moment you understand what they actually did in the dark, the 2 a.m. wake-up stops feeling like a malfunction. Let's go back. Not centuries. Millennia. Historian Roger Ekirch spent years combing through diaries, court records, and medical texts from pre-industrial Europe, and he found something the modern world had completely forgotten. People used to sleep in 2 shifts. A first sleep that began shortly after dark, followed by an hour or 2 of quiet wakefulness in the dead of night, and then a second sleep that carried them through until dawn. This wasn't insomnia. It was the schedule. Entire households would wake in that middle hour, and rather than panic, they would pray, talk, tend the fire, or simply lie in the dark thinking. It was so ordinary there wasn't even a special word for it. It was just night. So what happened? Why does your body still do the exact same thing? But now it feels like something has gone wrong. The answer starts with fire. For most of human history, light after sunset came from flame, and flame is expensive. It has to be fed, watched, tended, and fed again. So the night wasn't one long unconscious stretch. It was punctuated. Someone had to wake and check the fire. Someone had to listen. Because in the deep dark beyond the firelight, there were things that could kill you. This is where the story gets stranger, and where the science gets specific. Sleep researcher Jerome Siegel and his team traveled to 3 of the last remaining hunter-gatherer societies on Earth: the Hadza of Tanzania, the San of Namibia, and the Tsimane of Bolivia. These are groups whose daily rhythms still resemble, in broad strokes, how humans lived before agriculture and electric light. Siegel wanted to know what natural sleep actually looks like, stripped of screens and alarm clocks. What he found surprised almost everyone. These groups didn't sleep in one long block either. Their sleep was fragmented, shaped by temperature, by the fire, by soft rustling in the dark. And notably, they didn't seem bothered by it. There was no equivalent word for insomnia in their languages. The condition, as the modern world defines it, barely seemed to exist. Doesn't that change how you feel about your own 2 a.m.? Anthropologist Carol Worthman, who has spent decades studying sleep patterns across different cultures, found the same underlying shape again and again. Human sleep was never designed to be a sealed, isolated event happening to one person alone in a dark room. It was designed to be social, watchful, shared. In small groups sleeping close together around a fire, someone was almost always slightly alert. Not fully awake, not fully asleep. A kind of low hum of vigilance running underneath the rest of the group's unconsciousness. That hum kept everyone alive through the night. Here's the part that should land somewhere in your chest. That hum never left you. Your brain still runs a version of that ancient watch system. It's why an unfamiliar creak in your house pulls you out of sleep faster than the hum of a fan you've grown used to. It's why new parents wake instantly to a baby's cry but sleep straight through a thunderstorm. It's why your eyes snap open in an unfamiliar hotel room at the smallest, strangest sound. That isn't anxiety. That is tens of thousands of years of survival software, still quietly running in the background of your nervous system. So what changed? Why did this 2-shift sleep pattern disappear almost everywhere? The light bulb. It really is that simple. Once artificial light became cheap and constant, night stopped being a single, dangerous unknown and became just an extension of the day. Ekirch traced the decline of segmented sleep directly to the spread of street lighting, and later electric lighting inside the home. Within a few generations, the middle of the night waking hour, once universal and unremarkable, was reframed as a disorder. something to medicate, something to feel ashamed of. Think about that for a second. An experience shared by nearly every human who ever lived before roughly the 1800s got rebranded, in barely more than a century, as a personal failure. That reframe cost people more than a good night's sleep. It cost them the meaning of the waking hour itself. In Ekirch's research, that middle-of-the-night gap wasn't wasted time. People used it. They processed the day. They talked quietly with a partner in the dark. Some religious traditions built entire prayer practices around that hour, treating it as a natural pause built into the night, a sacred gap for reflection between two halves of sleep. Your ancestors weren't fighting that wakefulness. They were using it. You, on the other hand, reach for your phone. And that's the modern twist that makes the stranger still. The exact thing your ancestors did in that gap, quiet thought, low conversation, simply lying still in the dark, has been replaced by a device that floods your eyes with blue light and your mind with 100 strangers' opinions. You've kept the ancient wake-up call. You've lost the ancient response to it. So instead of a calm, expected pause, the middle of the night becomes a scroll session that leaves you more wired than when you started, not less. Here's a question worth sitting with for a moment. What if the problem was never that you woke up? What if the problem is only what you do in the 10 minutes after? Modern sleep clinics are slowly catching up to what forager societies never forgot in the first place. Some now actively teach segmented sleep as a legitimate, normal pattern rather than a disorder, especially for people who wake reliably around the same point each night. The advice isn't to force yourself back under through sheer willpower. It's closer to what your ancestors already understood without a single study to back it up. Stay in the dark. Keep the stimulation low. Let the mind wander instead of scroll. Trust that the second sleep will come, the way it always used to, the way it did for every person who lived before the invention of the switch on your wall. There is something almost tender about this, once you see it clearly. That moment of nighttime wakefulness, the one that makes you feel isolated, broken, alone with your thoughts in the dark, was never meant to be experienced alone. It was built for a world of shared fires and shared watches, where waking at 2 a.m. meant a quiet murmur from someone lying an arm's length away, not silence and a glowing rectangle. You are not malfunctioning at 2 a.m. You are running the oldest program your species ever wrote, quietly, faithfully, the way it has run for every single ancestor who came before you. So tonight, when your eyes open in the dark and the apartment is silent and your phone is sitting there, tempting, remember what that hour used to be. Not a symptom, not a failure. A pause built into you on purpose, inherited from thousands of nights spent watching firelight flicker against a cave wall, waiting, listening, trusting that the second sleep would come. It always did. It still can. Consider, too, how much of what feels like modern fragility is really just ancient design meeting an unfamiliar environment. Your ancestors' bodies expected darkness to be total, silence to be occasional, and any waking moment to have a purpose, whether that purpose was tending a fire, listening for danger, or simply sharing a few quiet words with someone nearby. Strip away the modern bedroom, the mattress, the blackout curtains, and underneath it all is a nervous system still calibrated for a much older kind of night, one where a body sleeping alone in silence would have been the strange, unnatural arrangement, not the other way around. This is also why the anxiety that so often accompanies a 2 a.m. waking makes a strange kind of sense once you trace it back far enough. Waking suddenly, without an obvious reason, once meant something in your environment had changed. A sound, a shift in temperature, a companion stirring nearby. Your nervous system still treats an unexplained waking as a small alarm worth investigating, scanning the room, scanning your thoughts, searching for the reason you surfaced. When there is no reason, when the room is simply dark and quiet, that scanning process can spin without an anchor, turning into worry instead of watchfulness. Understanding this doesn't erase the discomfort of the moment, but it does something almost as useful. It removes the shame from it. There's a reason this pattern shows up again and again once researchers actually go looking for it. Ekirch didn't find a handful of odd references to two sleeps. He found hundreds scattered across centuries, across countries, across every social class. Farmers wrote about it. Physicians wrote about it. Even court records mentioned events from that quiet middle hour, because it turns out a house full of half-awake people in the dark was, unsurprisingly, a common time for things to happen. The pattern was everywhere because the pattern was simply what a human night looked like before anyone thought to question it. Siegel's fieldwork adds something else worth sitting with. Even in the heat of the African bush, with no electric light for miles, the Hadza and San groups he studied still didn't sleep in one continuous stretch the way modern sleep guidelines insist you should. Some nights included brief periods awake near the fire. Some nights ran shorter overall than 8 hours, without any of the daytime exhaustion doctors warn you to expect from sleep deprivation. Their bodies simply weren't deprived. They were following an ancient rhythm that had never been told it was wrong. Worthman's research pushes the idea one step further, into something almost uncomfortable to consider. She's argued that solitary silent sleep, the version marketed to you as the healthy ideal, is itself a fairly recent invention, tied to private bedrooms, individual mattresses, and a cultural obsession with independence. For nearly all of human history, sleep was a group activity, layered with the sounds of breathing, shifting, and low conversation from people you trusted completely. Silence wasn't peaceful. Silence was often what happened right before danger. So when your body startles awake in the quiet of an empty room, it isn't malfunctioning. It's responding accurately to conditions your ancestors would have found genuinely strange. Not because you're unsafe, because the emptiness itself doesn't match 40,000 years of expectation. None of this means you need a campfire and 6 other bodies breathing nearby to sleep well tonight. It means the goal was never to force your biology into a single unbroken block through sheer discipline. The goal is closer to what your ancestors already practiced without a name for it. Expect the wakeful hour. Meet it without panic. Let your mind do what it evolved to do in that gap, wander, reflect, settle, rather than reaching for a screen that convinces your nervous system the danger is still out there, glowing, demanding attention. It's 2 a.m. You're staring at the ceiling. And for the first time, maybe that doesn't feel broken at all. Maybe it just feels like being human, the way humans were always meant to be, in the dark, quietly awake, waiting for the fire to settle before the night continues on without you.